I miss that sexy smile.
Hello, Makani. Bonjour. What's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Like Chalk and Cheese. We just made that on the spot. So let us know if you like that.
If you like that little sing-along, sing-song.
That sing-along, sing-song, let us know if you like it because we will continue it.
Could we get into a record label?
Can we get signed somewhere? Please. What's good, everybody? This is episode 5, and we are super excited. I am your co-host, Otni.
And I am your other host, Ruby, and we're talking about something really important to me today.
Girl, tell us what. I just got goosebumps when you said that. Okay, anyways, let's get into it. What are we talking about today, girl?
We are talking about shaking off childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
This is a deep one today. This is deep.
Yeah, this is a deep one.
We're
today.
diving. Dove. Is it diving? Dovin.
Dove.
Dived.
Okay, let us know in the let us know in the comment section because wow,
we don't
what
know
is
English.
What even is English?
But we have taken a deep dive today because, we like topics like this sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't want to just talk surface stuff. Sometimes we want to talk about some
and we
real
kind of
issues.
pre-warned you guys that we will be getting into some stuff.
This is some real stuff, and so just a little bit of background on it. This episode is looking at the effects of how some things we experience as children affect us greatly once we're adults. Sometimes we even bury the trauma deep inside our hearts as it was too painful and confusing as a child to deal with, and this adversely affects us as adults. We then see the remnants of our trauma trickle into our day-to-day lives as adults, and we end up making our current relationships suffer the burden of our pain.
Yeah. Any kind of relationship.
Any kind of relationship. It could be a parental relationship, like you as a parent, or it could be a relationship that you have with your own parents, a relationship you have with your friends, your partners, whatever.
Yeah.
Something will suffer if you don't deal with your trauma.
Exactly. And we always like to let you guys know what triggered the conversation. So what triggered this conversation? Ruby is a person who has a Snapchat account. You guys should actually follow her on Snapchat. It's very, very interesting over there.
Thank you.
So she has conversations with tons and tons of people, and sometimes these are kind of the topics that come across. So what was kind of the conversations you were having to basically trigger this conversation?
Well, it was just I would be talking to different people who would be like, I was, touched by an uncle and now I can't even enjoy sex with my spouse.
Right.
I try, but I literally just lay there and wish for it to end. And it might not even just be touched to the extent of all the way, but just any sort of inappropriate touching for a young child can really have adverse effects on them as an adult, as we can see in the specific woman as an example who is enduring, that's the word, enduring sex with her husband and has never actually discussed this with her husband out of fear of judgment, because that's another thing. We are afraid as a victim of how other people would view us.
Yeah, perceive, yeah.
Yeah, we're like, oh my gosh, I don't want you to feel sorry for me now.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not gonna say that.
I'm not gonna bring it up.
And then we harbor all these really deep, dark things inside us. And I'm always blessed, and I say this, that people trust me enough to come and talk to me about stuff like this. I am not a registered psychologist, but I love talking to people about stuff.
But she does have a psychology degree.
I do have a psychology degree. And I love talking to people about stuff like this because it's really deep and, it affects our communities.
Right.
And we grew up in Zimbabwe, both of us.
Yeah.
And our culture back home really believes in not stirring the pot.
Absolutely.
You guys know this. And I'm maybe not just Zimbabwe. I feel like Africans in general.
And I think,
we don't like to talk about things.
I don't even think it's Africans in general. I just think, in different cultures, again, I'll bring up the Middle East as well and stuff like that. Anything that just has to do with feelings.
Yeah.
Just
it just must be swept under the rug.
Put that under the rug. Don't bring that out
Smile.
here. Everything is
okay.
fine.
Don't let the neighbors know.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, we obviously will go to our culture or where we're from just because that's where we're from. That's what we know. But essentially, you can't go around just talking about your feelings like that. No.
And this affects attachment styles, like I said. So as the psychologist that I am, I learned about this, the types of attachments. There's 4 types. And the most common one, or the okay one, the one you want to be in, is something called secure attachment, which is basically you're fine. You know that if someone was to leave your house, they're coming back. Like, not people are abandoning you and stuff. But the one that I found that a lot of people who I talk to on my Snapchat are currently going through is avoidant attachment.
Right.
And you kind of build a wall around yourself because you don't really want people to get too close with the fear of being hurt again.
Right.
Your hurt, like I said, could be something small or something huge. It really depends. However, nobody should ever break down your hurt because it still hurts.
Exactly.
Just because it's small doesn't mean. Just because your hurt is less than mine, or what you went through was less of anything. As big, doesn't mean your feelings are not validated.
That's a good point.
Because
right there.
honestly, because someone could be like, well, my dad yelled a lot, and then people are like, well, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, like everybody's dad yells, or
everybody's
whatever.
dad yells. Why are you different? And it's like, but you don't know what that language could have done to that person. Maybe they were so broken by their father constantly telling them, you'll never amount to anything. And they grow up as an adult, and now they can't get jobs, and they're like, dad was right.
Yeah,
and I will never amount to anything.
And you feed off of that.
Yeah. So just because you could brush off someone yelling at you doesn't mean someone else could handle that. So these are really dependent, but it's a really hard thing to discuss, especially in our community.
And so, like, speaking of traumas, we're not gonna sit here and act like we ain't got none.
We got traumas. We had to deal with them. Well, we're still dealing with them. We're still dealing. Yeah, it's not over until it's over.
Exactly, until the fat lady sings. So pretty much. And I think, like, for me, like, me and you always have these, like, conversations back and forth. Like, we told you guys we're going deep, so you guys get to actually, like, know us a little bit more in depth. But I think for me, I shouldn't be like the trauma, like one off of the trauma. One off the traumas was the absence of a significant relationship of a caregiver. And not to say that I did not grow. I mean, I grew up with so much love. Like, oh my goodness. Like, I won't take that away from anything. I grew up with so much love to the extent that it didn't even register that could be something that was possibly affecting me, which it was, you know what I mean? Because you then kind of see that in the trend of, I guess, when we outgo like through relationships and so on and so forth. So the absence of a significant caregiver, not that void was not filled, but because it's that specific, at the end of the day, because of whatever, what is it, social norms or whatever, like in people's heads and how people grow up, you want both caregivers and stuff like that to be present. And not to say I didn't have 2 caregivers, I did, but just the absence of that particular caregiver was one of those, like, and you can then see, like, as I was growing up, how that would affect my relationships and so on and so forth. So for me, it was one of those, having conversations with you and then going to like a therapist is one of those when I was like, okay.
It's that deal.
That's what's kind of going on and stuff like that. But then you would kind of see, so I would it was one of those, like, it got to a point where, like, you would see the way I would handle, like, relationships. You would see it in how I would, like, be in a relationship with a person and how I am dependent on, like a person. Not to be, like, oh, my God, like, financially and all of these things, no. But just there was, like, you could see, like, I don't want to use the word clingy, but what's the word? But
I don't think it was clingy necessarily. I think it was a fear of abandonment. For you.
Basically, exactly. It was more so the fear of abandonment. So yeah, so you would see how that would like kind of like entail and like in like the relationship. Obviously, like not anymore, but it's one of those like it took some time, and I was like, because I lived for so long thinking I'm okay. Because in my head, I still had love given to me tremendously. So absolutely, I'm not going to be even concerned with all of that. Mm-hmm. But you can't run away from those kinds of things, essentially. Yeah. And what about you? What kind of trauma?
So I also grew up in a house full of love.
Yeah.
And I never understood parenting until I had my own kids. So my son must have been a little under 1 when I did something very scary, and I saw myself get so angry that I wanted to strike him.
Yeah.
Now I need to explain when I say strike, I don't mean spank.
Yeah.
Okay, white people, I still will spank him a couple times, but when I say strike, I mean I literally had so much force in my hand that I could have hurt him if I had followed through with the actual whap-ham, right? So I saw myself almost hit him. And it was like I had to check myself because I saw how small he was.
Yeah.
And I was like, then
For
what
what?
happens? Then I will whack this little person and then what will happen?
Then what?
And so I was like, okay. Why did I have such a significant negative response? Like he was getting himself in trouble, toddlers and whatever. Like he was in a very bad situation where he was gonna get hurt, and my immediate response was to hurt him more.
like hello.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's even dumb. Like, why would I try to hit him? Because he wanted to hit himself. So I was like, no, there's something wrong with that. And I had to sit and really think about it. I remember being so emotional about it and being like, wow, that's freaking fucked up.
Yeah.
That I was willing to hurt him because he wanted to hurt himself.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's messed up. So I had to think about it, and I was like, why did I have so much aggression towards someone so small? And then I just remembered that as I was growing up, corporal punishment was normal for me. Like when I say corporal punishment, I just mean being stricken as a kid was normal for me.
Yeah.
And
and majority, I want to say, I'm definitely not going to speak for people, but majority of just people back home growing up. Where you're fearful every time you got in trouble. Because I even think about something as simple as breaking a glass back home was terrifying. Am I lying or am I lying? No, you're not.
You would be scared. Because, wow, you will be in trouble.
Pretty much, yeah.
Especially the glasses that were reserved for visitors.
Yeah.
What? So I, just growing up with corporal punishment that surrounded me, not just at home.
Not at home only.
But at school. It surrounded my life. I remember you would get walloped for being late to cross country. Yeah. Because I didn't make it to run. You will now hit me, so I ran.
Or failing a test. Help me. Don't
coach me.
Coach me.
Don't beat me up.
Don't beat me.
I don't understand. It really affected me. And after that, I was like, no, I need to sit down and deal with these feelings. And I even had a discussion with my husband because he also experienced corporal punishment, and that was through school for him. And we discussed it, and we're like, as parents, should we try different tactics? Right? What should we do to discipline our children that will work for us, where we don't end up feeling like we've done something bad?
Yeah.
And so we were like, yeah, maybe a light smack wouldn't be bad. And it's literally take the hand and be like, that was not nice, right? A light smack, and then explain to them why they've done what they do. And this is what I do now. For me, what I do, my parenting style is if my son is being bad, usually it's a timeout. He goes in and he now knows. Ano knows. When mommy says timeout, he literally goes,
going to his timeout place.
And sits. And then he opens his door slowly to check if timeout is finished, and you're like, still timeout, bang! So that's how we do it. And then I always explain to him after the fact why you had to go to your room.
To timeout.
And I ask him, do you understand? And he'll say yes. Would you like to say sorry? He'll go say sorry to whoever he must have offended.
Yeah.
And it's working for me.
Yeah.
Versus
it is, yeah.
What I initially would have done.
Yeah.
Striking him, I'm sure he would just be scared.
Yeah.
Because it would be like, oh my God.
He's fearful all the time. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that really just made me think long and hard about
and
what
it's
it was.
And it's definitely a big thing. And that's something because you used to go through it, obviously, you were raised, but I think that's big when you're able, because this is another thing, is kind of what do we think the resolution is? We actually don't know. Because we're not, we're not well, she technically is, but we're not, positioned in a place where we are professionals in that sense. We're just two individuals still going through our healing process, I should say, and understanding it. But I think one thing for sure in dealing with it is firstly
acknowledging the issue. So for me, I acknowledged my issue was the fact that I had so much anger. And where was the anger stemming from? Why was I reacting so negatively? And then I also had to rationalize it to me, because that's who I am. And I'm not saying this is the cure for everybody, this is the way. But for me, like when I sat down and before I even spoke to my husband, I thought about it. I was like, there's a very big rise against beating women, right? Men, whenever they strike a woman, it's a big deal. And I was like, we protect our women, but we do not protect our children.
Yeah, and children.
We don't protect the children. Nobody ever really talks about the fact that beating a kid, I mean, it's not great, but people don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
You see even like, house help beating kids back home. House help is like people in your house that help take care of the child. Like nannies and stuff. Like sometimes they'll get really upset and beat the kids. Care facilities, even here in Canada, you'll hear this like language of someone got like a kid got like pulled, like dragged by a teacher and stuff. And these are horror stories. And like I feel like if we are protecting women from aggression like that,
the children,
we should put as much like I guess what's the word? As much as of the situation that we're doing with our women in the kids as well. And that's when I was like, actually, I'm done with that. I'm not going to do that. But that was how I dealt with it. It was just like rationalizing in terms of we protect this group of people. Yeah. We also need to protect this group of people and just make it known that it's not okay. And that's my stance on it. I'm not saying that if you're beating your kids, there's something wrong with you at all. Do not take it that way. All I'm saying is it had adverse effects on me. Where I saw myself almost doing it to I literally say he was under one, a very small child. Yeah. And after that, I was like, I bet.
No more.
What do we do? But we pose this question to you guys. Yeah. What are your suggestions on...
First of all, what are your suggestions in terms of like how you think it is like, or what works for you, for those who are out there and have acknowledged the trauma that they have like kind of gone through, and what it is that, and you kind of see happening in your life today, from your childhood, and what you guys think would be ways of dealing with that. One thing we know for sure is the first part is the acknowledgement of it. But after that, we're opening the floor to you guys to kind of figure out. So what do you think?
Therapy helps for sure.
Therapy definitely helps, for sure.
Like we've both gone for therapy and it helps. Like definitely. Just talking to someone. And I mean, therapy could be therapy in many ways. Therapy could be with like a doctor, or it could be in church if that's what you believe in. Exactly. Therapy could be with your pastor, with small groups, whatever you believe in. Therapy could be with friends. Exactly. Like therapy is not always necessarily in a room with a doctor with a pen and a pad. It's honestly, therapy could be with your friends. You could sit there with your friends and be like, I need to tell you guys something. Yeah. And then just, and just open it up to the floor. Because sometimes, when you're going through these things, it's one of those, it's something that's in you're in your head about it, right? So I find whenever you kind of open it up and bring it out to the open, you get to kind of see sometimes, I mean, it's all bad, but you kind of get to see, oh, okay, it's not as bad, or kind of get to see like solutions that come out of that. Yeah, because the mind is a very powerful, organism. And if you don't take some of the clutter out of here, it really affects you in life. It definitely really affects you in life. So, so we're opening this up to the floor. Like we said, this one was kind of a deep one. Yeah. But like we said, please continue to engage with us. We absolutely love it. And this is one of the ones that we really want to hear what you guys think, think about this particular issue of childhood traumas. But hope you guys tune in to our next episode. We absolutely love the engagement, guys. Keep it going. Keep it coming. I am your co-host, Otni. And I am your other host, Ruby. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.